We just have to be careful. And a threat was made, and we didn't think it was appropriate, so I have to be very careful. So I do that on the basis of safety for our people. A threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we're going to protect our people.
President Trump repositioning a pair of nuclear submarines after a threat from a top Russian official. This as we're just days away from the president shortening the deadline for a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. It's a lot happening all at once. And for more on this, as well as the situation in Gaza, we want to bring in former National Security Council Chief of Staff and America First Policy Institute Center for American Security Vice Chair, friend of the program, Fred Fleitz. Let me just share this, Fred. This is the president actually on X. A post probably came from Truth Social as well. This is what he said about what really sparked him to move those nuclear-powered submarines. He says, based on the highly provocative statements of the former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, I have ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions, just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. Words are very important and can often lead to unintended consequences. Now, there's a bit of thinking here in the nation's capital. It's a rhetorical escalation, not necessarily a military escalation, but I don't think you can take it that lightly. What say you?
No, I agree. Now, Medvedev is also Putin's deputy. He's threatened to use nuclear weapons against the U.S. He has said that Trump's ultimatums are bringing the 2 countries close to war, and he tried to write Trump off as Sleepy Joe Biden, like he's just like Biden. Well, look, a strong president can't let things like this stand. And what Trump is doing is he is engaging in deterrence. He's sending a message to Putin that we're not going to tolerate nuclear blackmail. And I think he's also saying to Putin, rein in your deputy. This kind of talk is dangerous.
It is dangerous. And for people who are unfamiliar, Fred, I think it's fair to say that Medvedev is a bit of a, not just his attack dog, he sometimes is the mouthpiece for Putin and able to say things that maybe Putin doesn't want to say himself, at least on the record. Is that fair?
I think that's probably right. Medvedev has a history of saying things like this. He also is an intense advocate of Russia conquering Ukraine. I think the Russians are worried right now. They're worried about these sanctions that Donald Trump is going to place on Russia, these oil sanctions that will do enormous damage to their economy. But we haven't heard Putin talk this way. And my hope is that the relationship between Putin and Trump will cause Putin to ask Medvedev to step back from making comments like this.
Yeah, I think it, brinksmanship in this circumstance is obviously not something we'd like to see. It could be catastrophic for the entire world. Meantime, I want to get your thoughts on our friends up north, Canada. They've been saddled, frankly, with massive tariffs, although 90% of our trade with Canada is really covered under USMCA. But at the same time, their decision to, as a nation, to follow in the footsteps of France and the UK and recognizing Palestine as a state has really rankled nerves here in Washington. Let me share what Howard Lutnick had to say about that. Get your thoughts on the other side.
Come on, don't be so tone deaf, right? The president is totally into trying to get peace in Gaza, and you're throwing your hat in the ring from Canada? Come on. You know, they still haven't solved dairy. They still have 2 countries on the whole world retaliated against the United States of America tariffs. China, which we all know, and Canada. So, you know what? I just don't see the president stepping off the gas.
What are they thinking up there? And is this just the craziest decision by the Canadians right now?
It's outrageous that Canada, France, and the UK were not prepared to recognize a Palestinian state before the October 7th terrorist attacks.
Exactly.
But seeing images on TV of the humanitarian crisis and starving children and women in Gaza, and look, Hamas knows Western leaders tend not to have backbones, and they will give in to negative press coverage. I just think it's outrageous because this is rewarding Hamas's terrorism. And to do this is going to make negotiating with Hamas even harder. And Hamas recently said it's not going to negotiate further until the humanitarian crisis in Gaza improves. Well, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is so bad because Hamas is shooting at people who try to get aid. Hamas has put bounties on the heads of American and Israelis who are trying to give out aid.
Yeah.
But the Europeans want to punish Israel for this.
Yeah, it's incredible. And they're stealing, by the way, much of the aid that comes in. Always great to get Fred's perspective on things. Sage voice of wisdom. Fred Fleitz. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate your time today.
Good to be here.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.